Happy New Year. Well, at least you guys out on the East Coast. I live on Central Time and over on the East Coast it's East Time, so it's an hour apart. I already watched the ball drop already. Blah blah blah. I just watched the ball drop and then I went back to my normal routine, which is sitting on my ass in this recliner and celebrating. I'm on my second rum and coke. I feel the effect on it. I'm not gonna have any more, but it's not like I'm going anyplace. Um, it's too cold, and where there's to go. I mean, I could go to a bar, but why go to a bar? I mean, it's just the same old routine. The bar up by my house. I mean, I remember I went in there at like 5 o'clock one time. And then I went in there like at 11 o'clock, like my usual time, and the same people were in there. I mean, geez, it's the same old routine. But the bartender back then, I was pretty good friends with her. I was on good terms with her. I bought her some because we were talking about Girl Scout cookies, and I told her about those knockoffs at Family Dollar, and she was like, "Cool." So I bought her a package of those, and it only costed me under $2. So she thought they were pretty good. So, anyways, yeah, I'm in the comfort of my own home with the cat wherever she is. She probably wants sleeping. Um, the past couple of days have been great on Facebook Marketplace. Sold a couple things. I sold a food dehydrator. I was asking 25 for it. I got 25 for it. I was pretty firm on the price. The thing looked like brand new. It was dusty from sitting on somebody's back porch at an estate sale. There was this big shelf full of small appliances, and there was the food dehydrator there, and it had the temperature control. And those ones with the temperature control are the jerky makers. Those are the real jerky makers. Not none of these cheap $15 dehydrators that have no temperature control. The ones that have temperature controls are the ones to get. So I found this food dehydrator and I paid $3 for it as is, and included the directions, and it was basically almost like brand new. So I flipped it for 25 bucks, and the woman that bought it, I guess she was pretty pleased with it. I'm not sure. Sold that, and then there was this MTD snowblower that I found at the garbage. The electric starter didn't work, but otherwise it worked fine. It's funny because usually you would have to drop the carburetor bowl out to clean the crusty fuel out, but in my case, I just added gas to the tank and bingo, the thing ran perfect. So yeah, I mean it was a little rough, and um, a coworker who also sells on Marketplace, he was selling a snowblower that had running problems for $100, and I was thinking, no, he was selling it for 80, and I was thinking, yeah, I mean, I got one that runs good, but the electric starter doesn't work. I mean, it worked, but I think the pinion was shot. I think what happens is with these little two-cycle snowblowers is since the pinions on the starter are plastic, I think people go to town on them too much, and it just chews the pinions up to hell. So yeah, I mean the starter word, but it wasn't catching. So I sold that for 75 bucks. the guy that bought it was pretty happy with it. He wasn't picky. I weeded through a bunch of responses I got on Marketplace. Um, Usually I would get a bunch of responses like most of these ghetto folks, and I don't want to deal with them fuckers. I just don't. I just hang on until I find somebody locally or somebody that has a halfway decent, reputable name that's willing to pay my money right then and there. Somebody that doesn't beat around the bush. So yeah, that's what I got. I mean, I had to wait about a day, but I got my $75. So, and that's gonna go to my new tire fund for the red truck. So yeah. Um, Other than sipping on rum and cokes, I ordered a pizza tonight. Um, Not none of this Pizza Hut or Little Caesars garbage. I went to a pizza parlor and I got a normal one. It costed me about $20. It tasted real effing good. You got to treat yourself every once in a while. I mean, it's okay to be cheap. It's okay to be frugal or thrifty, but um, you got to treat yourself every once in a while. You can't punish yourself. Um, I mean, there's these people on YouTube that are like that take cheapness to the extreme. I mean, I understand that they want to save money and be cheap and live a cheap lifestyle. And I understand that. I perfectly understand, but I perfectly understand it. But you need to treat yourself every once in a while. You cannot exactly just um yeah, you got to treat yourself every once in a while. You just can't punish yourself. I mean, when everybody else is like eating $20 pizzas, and if you're eating a McDonald's sandwich that you got to reheat, I mean, that's punishing yourself. So yeah, I mean, you gotta live a little. You can't just punish yourself. Um, I mean, I punish myself by not having a decent vehicle, but I got two decent vehicles that run all right, and that's fine with me. I don't want a payment. I don't. I was never too fond of the car payment. But maybe in the future, if I make more money at a job, and maybe I'll get a decent vehicle then. Otherwise, what I have is decent right now. Um, Hopefully, the red truck, I'll be able to drive it. Um, Once I'll drive it more once there's new tires on it. The tires ain't terrible, but they're bad. They're the tread is like reaching the wear sensors. So yeah. Uh, let's talk about all you could eat buffets, I guess. The old country buffet in my neck of the woods, it closed recently. Um, I guess it was kind of expected during this pandemic. It was kind of sad, but it is what it is. I think all these buffets are suffering in this pandemic. Um, Golden Corral is doing really well, I think, because they're not letting the customers serve their own food. What you do is you go up to the counter. Um, the employee grabs a plate and you just guide them around until your plate is full, and then you go to eat. So you don't have to touch any tongs or anything. The employees do that, and they have the table social distance and everything. which is great. Yeah, I like to go during lunch because it's much cheaper. Um, you get the buffet for $10, and right now it includes the beverage. Other than the special, you got to pay extra for that beverage. Um, but I've learned to drink water at all these all-you-could-eat places because if you drink soda, you get this pit, or sodas or whatnot. You get these pit. But if you have ice water, I mean, that kind of hits the spot. It kind of makes your digestion process better. So yeah, water's the way to go at these buffets. But the all-you-could-eat buffet, the old country buffet. I mean, I remember when the pandemic started, I saw that they were having like to-go orders rather than having the buffet. And I knew then and there that they probably weren't going to survive. And yeah, they didn't survive. And then a coworker told me that they're officially closed down, and I guess they were selling equipment and fixtures and stuff out of the building. So yeah, that was the first all-you-could-eat buffet I went by myself to. Um, Lots of memories I went for there. I remember me and a friend went there, and my friend drove nuts, and he drove this Dodge Omni, and on the way back home, I was getting more sicker after driving shotgun in that Dodge Omni, you know, and I was almost ready just to throw up. But I think I did throw up in the parking lot at Old Country Buffet once. But those buffets, I mean, I love to eat, but I think I can't. I'm losing my tolerance. I cannot eat as much as I used to. I mean, back when I was a teenager and a young adult, I mean, I can go to one of those places, just go to one of those places and just pile down the food. I could just pile it down and pile it down and pile it down. But now, since I'm older, it's hard. You got these little fuckers like on YouTube. That Matt Stoney, he the professional eater, the hot dog eater. You watch some of his videos, and this little Oriental shit just piles the shit down. And as much as he eats, I mean, back when I was a teenager, I wouldn't be able to eat as much as he ate. You know, it's amazing how much these little suckers eat. I mean, they can out eat. I mean, most people would look at me, oh, he's a big person. He must love to eat. Yeah, I do love to eat, but I mean, I have my limits. Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, you get these little skinny assholes that just out eat the fat people. You know, it's freaking amazing. It's shocking. What else? Uh, yeah, I got a little bit of room in my garage. I mean, the last couple of weeks I've been off of work for the holidays. I've been working on catching up on things like cleaning up the yard and um, tidying up the garage, getting rid of a few things, and getting the snow blowers right by the door so that way when there's a snowstorm, I can get at them. I managed to make some progress. And even though my garage is still crammed, I could still pull a couple of pieces of equipment out, and I have a little bit of room to work, which is fine. I have no problem. I don't need a whole big area to work. I mean, if I just have a little bit of area, I'm fine. First New Year's resolution, first week is hopefully to get back in a normal eating cycle. Um, with the holidays, I mean, you got so much food at you that you just eat and eat and eat and eat. And I'm grateful, hopefully, to be back in a normal cycle and within a month or a couple weeks or whatnot. So yeah, I mean, I want to have this holiday food around to eat cookies. I love chocolate chip cookies, and I made my sister some chocolate chip cookies to take home during Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. I made her some, and then I made my other sister some, and there was a lot left over that I loved to eat, and I love to eat chocolate chip cookies with milk. That's just like alcohol, you know. And yeah, chocolate chip cookies. I like to make them in moderation. I don't make them all the time, but yeah, they're great. Homemade chocolate chip cookies and milk. It's freaking awesome. So yeah, the sweets are starting to go down, and after the holidays are over, they won't be as in my life as much. But I still like to go to Dollar Tree, and if I'm buying like little things like shaving cream or whatnot at Dollar Tree, I gotta pick up a bag of candy or something. It's kind of impulse buying. I remember when I used to deliver newspapers, this guy named Kurt and I used to talk about that. Um, like, let's say if you would go to a convenience store to get gas, and then you go to pay for the gas, and you get a few more things too that you don't need. So yeah, yeah, I mean it's impulse buying for you. You go there just to buy gas, and then you end up with a few more things too. And there's this gas station near me. I mean, even though I don't drink coffee, there's this gas station near me. They offer a free cup of coffee with a gasoline fill up. So for the coffee addicts, I mean that's probably a great thing for them because they'd be just like, whoa, 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 coffee, free coffee, what a gasoline fill up. Let's fill up some gas and get a free cup of coffee. Yeah. So yeah, I mean for the coffee addicts, I mean that's great. I'm not really a coffee addict. I don't really drink coffee, but everybody else in my family seems to drink coffee, and I might I would probably drink it in the future. I don't know, just as a wake me up every morning because I'm not a morning person. I'm not. I never was. Back in high school and homeroom, I'd be just like sleeping on the desk with my head down, and I used to do the same thing in study hall too. There was this study hall before the lunch hour, and I would sleep in the study hall. And when the bell would ring, I'd wake up and I'd be thinking I would be at home when I was in this classroom, this oversized classroom, which they called the study hall. Yeah, I think I'd be thinking I was at home. I'd be in my own little world. Oh, I'm in paradise. I'm at home. The bell would ring. Boom. Then I would open my eyes and I'd be in reality. I'm at school. I'm in study hall. I remember back during my senior year, I would skip that study hall and I'd go to walk home to for lunch because at the school they would give you these 15-minute lunch breaks. And for me, that really wasn't enough. So I would skip this lunch out. I would skip this study hall. I would just go home. And when I got home, I had enough time to fix myself a decent lunch on the stove, and I had time to watch Body Shaping on TV, and then I would go back to school. And my friends were just like, "Craig, you're gonna get caught." And of course, I had a couple close calls, but whenever my name was called on the loudspeaker to come to the office, I would just tell the vice principal a bullshit story, and he would always buy it, and I would just be on my way. I would just tell him just some bullshit excuse, and he'd let me go. Um, that first semester guy that uh that was in charge of the study hall, he really didn't take attendance, but the second semester lady, the lady that was in charge of the study hall second semester, yeah, she was cracking down and she was taking attendance, and that's when I got busted. And I just took it easy for a while after she took over. So yeah, whatever. Uh, um, yeah, it's amazing how well I could talk and think drinking alcohol. Um, I go to people sometimes. I'd be just like, there's some tasks that I could do better drunk than I could do sober. Like, let's say when I had to Dodge Dakota, um, there was this electrical issue with the computer. I was trying to figure out if it was the computer or something else. And I was out there for hours and hours and hours in the cold. And I remember my mom saying she was just like, if I was in your shoes, I'd be just like, scrap the damn truck, get a different one. But I give you credit out for being out there in the cold and just being at that job nonstop, trying to figure out what's wrong with that truck. So yeah, I mean, if it's a wiring issue, like let's say for the Dodge Dakota, if it's a wiring issue, as far as electrical problems, I could probably figure it out better drunk than sober. But I have my limits. I know that I can't operate a power saw drunk. I cannot do that. Yeah, yeah, operating a power saw. I know if I were drunk or sober, I already know that I couldn't do that job drunk. Operate a power saw because I'd be putting myself at risk. But figuring out mind problems, um, figuring out mind problems, I could do better drunk than sober. It's just like the effect. It's just like the effect marijuana has on people. Um, I mean, if some people smoke marijuana, they could focus better and they could figure out something better. Like you know, um, I mean, before drinking, my mind is just like this and this. Yeah, before drinking, my when I'm sober, before drinking, my mind's like, and after I'm drinking, it's mellow. It's like this. It's like this. I'm more calm, and my mind isn't racing, and that way I can figure out problems better. Um, I remember I did something one night after I came home from the bar one time. I was better focused, and I just was in a calm mood, and I did the job with success. I can't remember exactly what I did, but it was one of those frustrating mind things. And like I said, I mean, some tasks I could do better drunk than sober. Yeah. What else can I talk about? The nearby gas station. They just recently reopened. The station was built in '91 or '92, back when I was in school, and I think every so many years they got to dig out the fuel tanks. So they were replacing the pumps, and they were replacing the underground fuel tanks, because if those underground fuel tanks leak, then that contaminates the earth, and they gotta dig them out every so many amount of years and replace them. And that's what they did. I mean, around this time of year, I mean, that seems like a risky job, but they seem to do the job, replacing pumps and replacing those underground tanks. They did all that in less than a month. So yeah, um, I hate going to that gas station anyway. It's in the downtown part of my city, and there's all a bunch of scumbags and shit. Um, I don't like that gas station really. Speedway's got that rewards program. I used to have a lot of points, and then all of a sudden I just lost them like that. And every time I go back there, every once in a while, they ask me if I want to put it on my card, and I'm just like, no, I don't got a card anymore. So yeah, I don't got that anymore. Yeah, in the school dumpster, I found a couple snowboards and a couple like saucer sleds, plastic sleds. And the snowboards I kept for myself, so that way I could sell them on marketplace. And those two saucers I just put on the front lawn with a free sign on them. I figured since we had our first snowfall within the last couple of days, that there would be kids like interested in sledding, but apparently not. Apparently they just love to sit inside their homes and do nothing. I mean, back when I was a kid, I was having a ball in that snow. Not much. Just enjoying the New Year's Eve. Within 4 minutes, it should be New Year's all over the United States, not just New York. Um, New York, I've been kind of hating lately, but I'm not going to get into that. Um, yeah, back when I was a kid, I mean, I was having a ball in that snow. I would go to the near school, which is a block away, and they used to have this big hill right where the gym is now, because they remodeled the school. There was this big hill, and I would go there with my plastic sled and slide down the hill over the sidewalk and over the snowbank into the street. It was fun, and I was doing that for hours. And of course, sometimes the bigger kids, they would be a pain in the ass. They would have to pick on me, and there was a bigger kid that threw a snowball at my face, and ever since then I just been afraid of snowballs being chucked at me like ice balls. And yeah, I was sledding with that time I got pelted in the face with the snowball. I was sledding with this kid that my mom babysat for. I went home crying. There's this jerky kid hit me in the face with a snowball, an ice ball, and it kind of sucked for me at the time because you got these bigger kids that are kind of acting like assholes, and you're just a little kid just wanting to have a good time. But yeah, it was fun sledding down that hill. And if that hill was still there, I mean, it would probably still be fun. Just have a few beers or something before going sledding and just slide down the hill, over the sidewalk, over the snowbank, and into the street. Um, even the bullied, even the kids that bullied would probably probably would have had a fun time too doing that because we all grew up. Yeah, I mean that was a way to build up cardio. Just go up the hill and then down the hill again and then walk up it. I mean, back during the '80s and early '90s, um, I mean, there was lots of stuff to do to get that cardio moving as far as being a kid. I mean, we rode our bikes all over the freaking place. Of course, during winter, we couldn't ride our bikes, and we always went to the school to sled or whatnot. And during the summer months, I mean, if you were into sports, a lot of kids that I knew played little league baseball, and or they went to the park to play ball and stuff. And there was lots of things to do to build up that cardio, but um, I knew it was going to happen back when I was in my 20s. I knew eventually kids were going to get lazy over time, um, and and physical fitness was just going to be neglected. I mean, I hated gym class myself, but other than gym class, I got my cardio other ways, like riding my bike around the neighborhood or going sledding or riding up and down the alleys with the bike, collecting junk, whatever. I mean, there was always stuff to do to keep that cardio up. And I knew that was eventually going to happen when later on when I was in my 20s, like, kids were eventually going to get lazy due to this technology. I mean, back when I was a kid, we had our fair share of technology too. We had Commodore 64s, we had the ColecoVision, we had the Atari, and I myself had none of that. I mean, I had to work for that. I had a Commodore 64 later on during my early teenage years that I worked for and bought with my own money. Um, we had technology, but it was something we wouldn't want to do all day during the summertime. And in return, there was always something to do. We didn't want to be cooped in the house all day in front of the screens. We always did something productive. Um, and back then, our parents never really told us to get outside and get active because we did that ourselves because we didn't want to be stuck in front of a screen all day. And yeah, I mean, these days, the parents really don't say anything, and they need to say something. They need to limit times and say, Junior, you're spending too much time in front of the screen. Go out and play in the traffic or go in the yard or something. Do something physical. So yeah, enough rambling on about that. I mean, I knew it was eventually going to suffer. I remember back when I worked for the newspaper. One of my coworkers was this old retired postman. He grew up in my city, and he said he was amazed one day. He'd walk in the park, and there would be no kids playing during a summer day. I mean, the parks were just empty. And I was just like, yeah, it's technology for you. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's just me as an older adult that has that mindset. Maybe the younger crowd has a different opinion. I mean, back at the high school. Back in high school, the high school I work at, I graduated from. I went to school there, and back then there was this golf team, and I'm surprised many years later that there was still a golf team because I thought over the years that kids wouldn't they would be bored at golf and they wouldn't join the golf team or nothing. But apparently there was kids still interested in golf, which shocked the hell out of me. Scouts too. Um, there's scouting is not as much as far as scouting. It ain't as mainstream as it was when I was a kid. Um, Today, I bet you there's probably like two schools. There's probably two schools in one district having one scout troop instead of each school having their individual scout troop. Because back when I was in school, there was one troop per school, and nowadays, since things changed, they probably have one troop for two schools or one troop for the entire school district. So yeah, over time things suffered, you know. And I was a lousy scout. Back when I was in scouts, I was a lousy scout. Um, I remember back, my brother said later on in life that he wanted to become a Boy Scout and a Cub Scout, but my mom wouldn't let him because my sisters were in Girl Scouts and um, they had their thing going on, and my mom thought that my brother being in Scouts was just too much work or too much burden on her, so she said no. And if my brother would have joined Scouts, I think he would have been a kick-ass Scout because he was into a lot of this outdoor stuff, and he still is. I really think he would have been a kick-ass Scout. I really think so. But my mom didn't want him to join because my sisters were in scouting, and I guess it was just too much burden on her at the time. I don't know. But yeah, I think he would have been a kick-ass Scout. I really do. But I was a screw off as a scout. I was a screw off in shop class, but I learned a few things, even though I was a screw off. Um, if I knew then what I know now, I bet you in high school shop class, I would have been a kick ass student, you know. Um, but I really had no father figure in my life, so um, I really had nobody to teach me how to about this technical stuff, you know. Um, my father died when I was two, and um, I mean, I had I had two brothers. One of them was my oldest brother wasn't really into sports. No, he was really deeply into sports, but he wasn't a technical person. Um, A matter of fact, like putting a doorknob on a door was like a big achievement for him. You know, he wasn't really a technical person. My other brother, the one that I normally talk with, the middle brother, he's a mechanic and he's a little bit on, he's kind of on the same page as me about stuff. We could have conversations about stuff. And back then, when he was a teenager, when I was younger, he was running wild with the girls and the fast cars. And um, I really didn't learn anything from him. My neighbor, my former neighbor, when I was 12, when I was 11 or 12, my former neighbor, if he didn't die, I bet you I probably could have learned a lot from him because he worked by the nearby lattice factory. He built things in his backyard with scrap wood. He was really handy with things. I bet you I could have learned a lot from him. But unfortunately, he died. So throughout my teenage years, I really didn't have him. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that, as far as woodworking, I learned a lot from Ron Hazelton, the house doctor. Back when I would get home from the paper route every morning, on HGTV, I would watch these house doctor reruns, and I learned a lot from Ron Hazelton. I wish I could have videotaped some of those episodes that he had. And I learned a lot by reading books, um, and then I started getting into the This Old House. I was watching those This Old House classic reruns. Yeah, um, I'm sort of like a self-taught person. I mean, I really didn't have anybody to teach me this stuff, and I just trained myself out. You know, and it's amazing people in this world. I mean, they make me people like me rich because they're not technical minded, and if something goes wrong with something they have, it's cheaper for them just to like throw it away and buy new. And if I see their item thrown away, I pick it out of the garbage and I fix it and I flip it for profit, or I keep it for myself. So those type of people make me rich, um, which causes me to profit more because they're throwing stuff away that I can fix. And most of the stuff that needs to be fixed is just piddly little stuff. Like most of the lawnmowers I find in the garbage, they only need like less than $10 worth of repairs done to them. Like those classic Briggs lawnmowers, I love finding those in the garbage because I immediately know what's wrong with them. The diaphragms and the carburetors. Matter of fact, my neighbor, he has one of those cheap lawnmowers like that. And for a couple summers, the engine was revving up and down. And one afternoon, I go to him. I was just like, I can fix that lawnmower for you, 25 bucks, parts and labor. And he was like, fine. He didn't hesitate whatsoever. So I took the lawnmower from him. I went to O'Reilly's. I got the parts for it, and I changed the gas in it. I cleaned the carburetor up really good, and I put a new diaphragm kit on it. And the lawnmower's been running great ever since. And since the city made him tear down his shed, I really didn't want his lawnmower being rained on out in the rain. So that summer, there was this old garden cart I found, this plastic garden cart. The box on the garden cart was all busted up plastic, and I sawed off half of it and I gave it to him to cover over his lawnmower engine. so he could leave the lawnmower outside. Because with that new diaphragm and all that work done that I done to the lawnmower, I didn't want him to deal with the same problem again, which shows I care. But a lot of those lawnmowers in this neighborhood, I listen to. But most of the people, I really don't bother with them because they don't want to spend the money to fix it. I mean, I knew my neighbor. I mean, um, he didn't care. I mean, he's always willing to spend the money if he really wants something fixed. So that's great. So yeah, I mean, most of these lawnmowers, they mostly just need less than $10 worth of repairs. And I got a whole patio full of garbage pick lawnmowers out in the yard with a tarp over them. So that way, in springtime, that's my nest egg out there. Once early spring comes around, once I get the wrenching on those things and getting them running, I could flip them for profit. And yeah, there's a whole mess of money sitting underneath that tarp out there. Lots of profit potential. I mean, there's a couple of good ones. I got two Toro recyclers, the exact same and the exact same engine, personal pace. One has a blown engine, the other one doesn't. The one that has the blown engine has a good deck. The one that doesn't have the blown engine has a cracked deck. So I just need to swap the engines out onto swap the good engine onto the good deck and scrap the old deck or whatever. So yeah, there's lots of profit potential sitting underneath that tarp in my yard. And there's an old beater snapper lawnmower in there too. And there's a classic Briggs mower out there too. So yeah, that's my nest egg out there. Once spring comes around, once the demand comes back, boom, 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 boom. It's like an average of $60 per lawnmower or more. And plus, what's that? There's a nice Honda out there, but I lost the side cover for it. But I think I got a spare side cover around. I tossed the cover someplace. Maybe it's still sitting out in the lawn someplace. I don't know. But yeah, and plus the bag is in the bed of the pickup truck right now. So if the lawnmower's got a bag, if it runs and if it's useful, that self-propelled lawnmower with the bag, that's about 75, $80 plus. So yeah, I got my own nest egg underneath that tarp on my patio right now. So once spring comes around, boom, boom, boom. And today I was thinking, maybe I'll get rid of the rider in the springtime too. I don't know. I'll think about that. I think the rider I can get about $300 for. Thing runs really good. Um, one of the rear tires is dry rotted because I think it was low for such a long time that it sat in one place and it developed a crack, but it still holds air. Um, the alignment's a little bit off because I hit the retaining wall on the lot line, and I think that screwed up the steering a little bit. But it tracks in a straight line still, but the wheel's a little bit off. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That mower runs pretty good. I used it. The seat has fallen apart. The padding came off of it, and when I used it last week to move it around, I moved it around the yard just so I could run the gas out of the thing. And I didn't have the padding part on the seat, and I just sat on the regular raw seat frame, which is just a piece of metal, and I felt fine. I thought those bolt heads would be just um, pitching my ass, but they weren't. They were fine. So maybe I'll just leave the seat cushion off of it or seat padding. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that free lawnmower, that riding lawnmower. Um, that was quite a score. Um, yeah, I was out in the yard working one afternoon, and I went in to get a bite. When I went in the house to get a bite to eat, I think. And I checked my phone, and my friend Neil, who's an older guy that lives in the city, he told me about this riding lawnmower that was on a street, and I was just like, oh, okay, it's probably a piece of shit, but I'll just go there and look at it. And I looked at it, and it looked really good, and I was thinking, I'll take the chance. So I took the truck back home and I emptied it out. I was using the gray truck because the gray truck sits lower than the ground than the red one does. The gray one's a two-wheel drive. The red one's a four-wheel drive. So I got the gray truck and I went out there and got the riding lawnmower, and it was only me. And the lady that lived at the house, she had a couple of her sons, or maybe her son and a friend or something. They helped me lift the riding lawnmower into the back of the pickup truck. And I remember them saying that they used the lawnmower for quite a long time, and it wasn't started in like 3 years. They didn't know if the thing ran or not. So I had it in the yard for a while, and I decided to wrench on it when I made the time, and I took the shroud off the engine, and there was a bunch of mouse nest in there. I mean, it was terrible. I cleaned all that out, and I put the shroud back on, and I tried charging the battery. I knew that thing was going to be toast after sitting for 3 years, so I went to the nearby farm and fleet, and I got the exact same replacement battery that was on it. And I installed the battery, and I thought there was something wrong with the starter at first because the starter was turning the engine kind of slow, but it turned out the battery was just low on charge. So yeah, I mean, I charged up the battery properly. Um, yeah, I got that mower running, and I was having fun with it for such a long time. And I remember my brother was saying, he was just like, "Are you ever gonna sell that fucker?" And I was just like, "I'm just having too much fun with it right now." And yeah, I mean, and whoever parked the lawnmower before it sat for like 3 years, I could tell that they took good care of it because there wasn't any gas in the gas tank whatsoever. It was bone dry. I shot a little bit of gas in the car just to see if the engine would fire, which it did, and I just filled up the tank with gas and I got it running and it stayed running, and apparently the carbo was clean of old gas. So yeah, whoever parked that lawnmower must have took good care of it. Yeah, and there's really no issues with it other than the torn seat cover. Um, there's a broken light bulb for one of the headlights. Before I would sell it, I would take care of the bulb problem. Not a big deal to me. Plus, it needs a new gas cap. There's a nearby junkyard around here. Um, they have a bunch of like wrecks of old motorcycles and riding lawnmowers and mini bikes, but stuff and scooters and stuff. I'll just go over there and see if they got a matching gas cap for it. So yeah, but yeah. Otherwise, that mower runs pretty good. And then, like I said, I think I could get about $300 for that. I mean, it's been thoroughly tested. I mean, yeah. So yeah, whatever. I gotta check my messages. Yeah, I have that Snapper snowblower still. I made a video of it several years ago. I think it's a 422. I remember Wolfside Oil. I remember telling him about it back then. I found it in the neighbor's trash. All it needed was the carburetor bowl. It just needed to be descaled and cleaned out, and that's all it needed. It's been running really good ever since. I had some problems with the belts and a couple, what's that, keyways in the drive. But otherwise, it's been a good machine. Um, Throws snow pretty far, and plus, it's kind of on the light side too. And I remember I was almost ready to sell it, and he told me, "He's just like, don't sell it, don't sell it. That's a good machine." And I'm glad I didn't. So yeah, I still got it. It's gotten a little bit rustier. Maybe I'll eventually just sand it down and throw some paint on it. I don't know. Um, I mean, it's good to paint old equipment like that, but personally, I think after painting it, it just gets rusty again. Unless you do it properly, I don't know. Let's taste this rum and coke. All done. A little watered down, but it still tastes good. I'm not gonna have any more. Hopefully I could go to bed and sleep right away. Um, Hopefully I can just sleep like a baby. I wish I could do that every night, and I could be recharged for the next day. Uh, uh, this new YouTube. When I first started YouTube years ago, it was fun, but now over time, it just turned out to be a shit show. I mean, it used to be broadcast yourself, but it really isn't broadcast yourself anymore. It seems like your balls are in a vice. You're limited to what you could do. I mean, of course, I mean you can't exactly let your bare balls hang out and dance around your house singing jingle bells or anything like that. I mean, you can't exactly do that, but back then, I mean, when I first started YouTube, I mean, there was people doing a lot of stuff. There was this one guy that would he used to play the bongos to like old hits of the '70s and stuff. He'd play the bongos to like old like rock hits or pop hits from the '70s and '80s and stuff. He would play the bongo along with them, and they were out those videos of his were always cool to watch, but the copyright idiots got to him, and apparently he couldn't do what he wanted to do, and he couldn't broadcast himself, so that sort of screwed him up. And I used to love to sing in some of my videos back then. I mean, a lot of people thought I couldn't sing. I mean, but that was the joke of it. I mean, I just loved to have fun. I mean, it wasn't about me not having any talent. It was just me just being my own foolish self. Um, yeah, it was just me being a fool, just an idiot, entertaining people, making them laugh. And because of the copyright, I couldn't do that. I couldn't broadcast myself anymore the way I wanted to. And yeah, I mean, the slogan used to be broadcast yourself. YouTube, you broadcast yourself, tube. But now it seems like your balls are in a vice to what you could actually broadcast. Um, of course, there's people that are successful on YouTube. Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's people that have been on YouTube as long as as long as I have, but but they're playing. But a lot of these YouTubers, the ones that are still on here, I mean, they have lots of subscribers, and they're kind of limited to what they could broadcast. They can't have music in their videos. They really can't swear much in their videos. Um, me, I couldn't abide by those rules. It'd be very hard for me. I mean, I could do it, but I could have done it or could do it, but I don't know. I just don't like the idea of having my balls in a vice. I mean, I'd rather just broadcast myself, broadcast my foolish self, just to entertain people because that's what I love to do. I love to make people laugh. I love to make videos of my gadgets and all this bullshit I buy. Uh, I mean, I mean, back. I mean, if I followed the rules and if I would have became a big YouTube star, um, I mean, I could have been profiting, but I don't like the idea of having my own personality being limited. I mean, I know that I can't exactly just run around the house naked and sing jingle bells or whatnot, like I said, you know, but I just don't like the idea of having my balls in a vice, having my life in a vice. Um, I mean, YouTube is supposed to be broadcast yourself, like the old slogan was. But in reality, you can't broadcast yourself really good, like you really want to, because there's limits. You can't have music in your videos because of copyrights. Um, and especially right now with the cancel culture, you got to watch what you say. And um, Black Lives Matter. You can't be too racist. Yeah. Yeah, it ain't broadcast yourself anymore. It's more like having your balls in a vice to what you could actually do in a video. Um, but yeah, to these people that are making the big bucks on YouTube and having lots of subscribers, I mean, kudos to you um, for entertaining your crowds and being in a being in a circle of YouTubers that you could have fun with. And, um, but I just don't like the idea of having my life and advice um, to what I can and cannot do. I mean, I'd love to have music in my videos. I would love to sing along with music in my videos, but I can't do it anymore because of copyrights. So, and some of these assholes that, I mean, if you, I've noticed a lot. Um, I'm not a gamer, but on a lot of these video games like Grand Theft Auto, they're they have these classic rock songs on there, and the younger kids, the younger crowd, hears these songs and they think, "Wow, this song is pretty cool." And other than the video game, they never heard this song or seen the group before or heard the group before. And then that causes those people to go out and buy albums. Those songs being on a video game sells albums. It makes sales. It makes record companies money. Can't they be a little bit lenient? You know, I mean, it kind of, I kind of hated seeing these comments on these YouTube videos of old like songs. You see these comments saying, "Oh, I heard this song on Grand Theft Auto San Andreas or whatnot, or Grand Theft Auto video game," and I'm thinking that's kind of a turnoff for me because I've listened to the music when I was younger. You know, I've listened to the music. I've actually listened to the music during an era when it was broadcasted on the radio and when it was semi-popular or popular. I did not hear this video. I did not hear this song on a video game for the first time. I've lived through it, and I don't know. In my opinion, I think it kind of degrades the music. I mean, having it on a shitty video game, it's just me. But yeah, I mean, can't these copyright companies be a little bit lenient as far as music? I mean, for these young kids to see and hear these songs being played on a video game, I mean, that itself sells albums because these kids are just like, oh, that's a really cool song. I never heard that before. Boston, I never heard of the group Boston before. I got to go out and buy the self-titled 1976 Boston album because I heard More Than a Feeling on a video game. So that itself sells albums. Be a little bit lenient, these companies. I mean, if you block everything from being played on the internet, I mean, you won't be selling albums. But that's just me ranting. It's just me. It's just me. It's just me. Wow, I've been on here an hour and 8 minutes so far. Uh, I suppose I'm gonna check out, and I'll catch you guys later. Have a good New Year, everybody. I sure hope you enjoyed this video. It was probably the best live video I've ever had. The alcohol seems to help. So, anyways, peace out. I hope to have myself on another video pretty soon. Bye.